10 years. He also had a federal clerkship with a judge in the U.S. District Court of Central District of California, a fairly competitive position. And more than that, I think that what you're going to see with Judge Saito is that he really has a mentor's heart. And I think it's going to be really helpful just to hear his path to becoming an attorney and a judge on top of it. So really excited to have Judge Saito here with us today. We also have a Senior Deputy Prosecutor, Stephen Kim, from King County in Washington. He's a senior prosecuting attorney, I think I just said that, for the last 13 years. He is the head of the Korean Bar Association of Washington. And this past year, he traveled to Korea, where he helped bring out some judicial reform, really trying to help the Korean government make a more equitable system that's going to help the citizens of Korea find a way to really adopt a lot of American systems of law out there. So the schedule for today is basically we're going to have each of our panelists speak a little bit about their background and talk to you about what they do. After that, we're going to have a short Q&A session, and I'm going to try and save a little bit of time at the end so that you can come up individually and speak with them if you have any questions or you're a little bit shy about that. But I'd encourage you to ask questions during the Q&A session so that everybody else can benefit from your questions as well. With that, Judge Saito?
Can we close the door?
Yeah, sure. If we close that door, that'd be great.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I'm glad to see you. How many of you guys want to be lawyers? How many of you guys want to be judges? Yeah. You know, this is the law and government class. There's only a handful of hands went up. How many of you just didn't want to go to the other sessions today? No. My name is Tim Saito. I'm an LA Superior Court judge, and I want to first of all thank all of you for being here and the parents who are here. How many parents do we have here today? Wow, that's a lot. You know, I really got to commend you and the students here today, because you know what? You guys are taking the first step into becoming something. You know, I got to tell you, my kids are at home probably taking a nap playing PlayStation. But you guys, even if you're not even paying attention, you guys are here, you're listening, you're taking the first step. And it's true, okay? You guys are here. I tell everybody the first step into achieving anything is just being there, okay? And you guys are here, okay? It wasn't that long ago that, well, it wasn't long ago that I was in a career day seminar, sitting there where you guys are sitting, but I'll never forget it. Because, you know, there was a time when I really dreamed about wanting to be a lawyer, wanting to be a judge, and I was sitting there listening to all these people and thinking like, God, you know, can I ever be a lawyer? Can I ever be a judge? Can I ever be a doctor or a teacher or whatever career event I went to? And I said, you know, this is going to be, I mean, I'm sitting here listening to all these guys, and you know, is it ever going to happen for me? I'm going to tell you, it's going to happen, okay, no matter what. And I'm really living proof of that. You know, if you want it in your heart, you're going to achieve it as long as you try hard. Okay? Because again, you guys are here. You guys are going to be the future leaders. You guys are going to be the mentors for other people. And your parents are here, and they're supportive, and it's a great sign. Okay? I'm a judge, but I was a lawyer before that. So afterwards, if you have any questions about being a judge or a lawyer, I can answer both questions. But one of the reasons why I got into law is because I thought it was a very special practice. And of course, I'm biased because I'm in the law, but to me, the law was something that changes people's lives. You know, it was there to help people, right wrongs, make people safe. And I always thought, you know, what's a better way to give back than through the law? Because no matter where you live in this country, whether or not it's a small community, county, city, the law is there, and it touches people, you know, and you have to abide by the laws, and it's there to right wrongs and protect you, and that's what I, you know, thought as a kid. My dad, who was actually 94 years old, he grew up in the court system as a clerk, and actually rose to be the clerk of the court, which is the chief administrator. But as a kid, he used to take me to the court, and I used to sit down during summer. That was my career day, just sitting there watching. And I used to watch the proceedings, and I used to think, the courthouse was a special place to me. I thought, you guys might see Judge Judy, everybody's going at it, and there's all this drama, they're kicking each other, and yelling and screaming. But you know, for me, when I sat and watched a judge, I thought, this is a place where people went resolve issues, to work something out. You know, and I thought, that's what I want to do. You know, I come from a family, believe it or not, of community service. And my mom, my dad, you know, they all were always helping people. And as idealistic as it sounds, that's what I wanted to do. And I saw the courthouse as like a hospital. And I said, you know, I want to do that one day. I want to be a lawyer. I want to make a difference. And I got to tell you, to me, as I said, the law is a special thing because it changes people's lives. As I indicated, my dad's 94 years old. And believe it or not, we grew up in LA, and there was a time when he first moved to LA, he couldn't live in a certain area. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But he was a minority, and he had to ask permission to live where he was living. He had to go around the neighborhood and say, you know, is it okay if an Asian American lives in this area? And if everybody said okay, it was fine. But they had something called restricted covenants. And that was something that prevented certain minorities from living in certain areas. But you know what? Through the law, through lawyers, through judges, through the court system, through our Constitution, they knock those things out because it says it's wrong, right? And now, of course, we can live anywhere we want. There was a time, believe it or not, within my lifetime, I don't know in yours, but you couldn't even have interracial marriages. Is that kind of crazy? Or certain people didn't have the right to vote. But because of lawyers and the system and our law, you know, we all have rights now. You know, it protects us. It watches over us. And I thought that was something that was very important to me, and that's why I got into the law. I worked for a judge, as Frank mentioned. His name was David W. Williams, and he was the first African-American federal judge west of the Mississippi, he always says. He knew people like Thurgood Marshall. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a very famous African-American judge, Supreme Court Justice, first one. And he was pivotal in changing the law. There was a time, believe it or not, Judge Williams was, he died about 95 also, age 95. So he was up there. He told me when he bought his house near UCLA, they wouldn't sell it to an African American. And so what he did is he did it all by mail. Pretty smart. They never saw him. You know, they just saw a name. And by the time the transaction was over, he had bought this house. But he said that if he had actually had a face-to-face confrontation, the deal would have been off. And so, you know, he was pivotal in knocking out those laws, restricted covenants that said you couldn't live where you wanted. He worked, he used Thurgood Marshall. There was a lot of lawyers that were involved, and they changed things. Even in my own background, the Japanese American, you've heard of the internment camps, right? I mean, people were prosecuted because of that, but lawyers changed that. Judges changed that. They said there's something there called the Constitution that says you can't do that. And so to me, the law is something that really gives back. And it's something that I wanted to get into. I really thought was important. And I'm glad I'm able to share that with all of you because that's my passion. I didn't come up from the traditional route. You're going to hear more about how to become a lawyer or a judge. We're going to talk about you have to be the cream of the crop or whatever. And, you know, some people say that, you know, but I went to a small night school. You know, I worked my way and I tried my best. There was a time when my dad said, oh, you know what, I helped you through college. You're on your own in law school. So I kind of worked during the day, went at night, you know, but I still never gave up my dreams. You know, some of my friends went the traditional route, went to big schools, you know, big law schools, and you should always aim high. Believe me, do the best you can. But if something happens, stick to your dreams, because I know every one of you here has a different background. We're all here, we're all equal. But I always say education is the one equalizer that's going to make us all the same. Okay, it puts us on the same level. But whatever it is that you come from, some of us might be more financially, you know, set. Some people might have less issues at home. Some people come from families that have real needs or taking care of, you know, your grandmother or something. It's harder for you to get out there to go to school or work. No matter what, you know, you can do it, okay? And I'm proof of that, okay? No matter what your situation is, financially, family, don't give up on it, right? I have some friends that said, you know, I wanted to go to law school, but you know what, my dad lost his job, now I have to work, so I'm just going to forget it. But you know what, you can do both. I did both, okay? During law school, I was working full-time during the day, a pretty demanding job for a judge. My schedule was I would go to work at 8:30. I would crack a book, my brief, looking at my books, my law books during lunch. People thought I was suicidal. I would go to my car. My mom, Asian American mom, would pack me a dinner. I was eating it during driving to work, eating my fried chicken, and then I'd get to law school, be there for about 10:30, go back to work, start finishing my work because I didn't want to disappoint any of the judges that I work for. Then I would go home and start reading some more, and usually fall asleep at my desk until my mom woke me up and said, go to bed. And then it started all over again. But what I'm saying is that I'm not trying to just say that, I did it, that's a big thing. I'm just saying that if you have issues and you have to work or whatever, you're still going to make it as long as you try. Okay? Really. If any of you are afraid of the bar, don't worry about it. You're going to pass that as long as you have that desire in your heart. Okay? I'm going to leave you with one last story that I told the last group. Is that I spoke at another career day for my son who's in middle school. And for some reason, they scheduled 2 lawyers back to back. And back then I was a lawyer. Okay? And the first lawyer came in, he was a corporate attorney, and he told everybody, you know what? If you guys don't study hard, if you guys don't get straight A's, if you guys don't go to the best colleges, if you guys don't be top 2% of your class, you're never going to become a lawyer, you're never going to pass the bar, forget it. And then so afterwards I gave my presentation, and I asked my son, so how do we do? He goes, well, after the first speaker, no one wanted to be a lawyer. Forget it, all of us are doing good at school, so Dad, I don't think we're all going to be lawyers. But then he goes, but after you came on board, you said, hey, you know what, as long as you try hard, as long as you have a dream, you're going to be a lawyer. And everybody all of a sudden wanted to go into law. But I'm not kidding. If you really want to become a lawyer, you're going to do it. My friends who didn't pass the first time, everybody eventually passed. The ones at least that wanted it and tried hard. They eventually passed. Even like JFK, who I think you took it like 3 times, right? He eventually passed. Okay? If you want it in your heart and you try hard enough, you're going to do it. So I'm going to tell you more about my background, my path, and if you answer any questions, it's good to have mentors too, and I'll tell you more about my experience with that. But I want to give Mr. Kim a chance too. So thank you for all being here today.
So I'm from Seattle, Washington, and it's kind of chilly up there compared to OC, so I'm going to leave my jacket on. One thing is, my name isn't Stephen Kim, it's actually Stephen with a D. So I'm not offended, but if anybody wants to Facebook me after this, it's Stephen Kim, okay? And it's a picture of 2 little kids, 2 kids. It's like my baby. My name's Stephen Kim, I'm a King County prosecuting attorney for King County prosecuting attorney, senior prosecutor. I'm from Seattle. I'm looking out at this room, and the one thing that strikes me, with a few exceptions, is I see a lot of dark hair. Right. Well, a little gray, but there's a point to this. I'm going to come out and just say it, okay? We as people of color have a tougher road to become professionals, whether it's lawyers or doctors. And do you know why that is? Does anyone know why? Anyone want to guess? Yeah.
Because most Asian kids are having better scores in schools, so.
Right along that line. We, as second generation for the most part, have parents who are immigrants, is that correct? They were, you gotta love your parents. They went from a different country to America where they don't know anybody, where they can't really speak the language, start small businesses just so you can have a better education. They tell you this all the time, right? Well, I'm telling you that too. You should love your parents for doing that. But you have a disadvantage because they did that. You know what that is?
Too much love.
I think you should be up here. That's another issue, but your disadvantage is that your parents, most of them, didn't get connected into professions. So there's not a lot of parents that have to be lawyers or doctors or pharmacists or whatever. And you know what? The other thing is, they don't know people who are doctors and lawyers and pharmacists. But let me tell you, there's a lot of people that are in there, a lot of Caucasian people, a lot of people that have been around the United States for generations, that have a dad, that has a friend, that has an uncle who's a judge, who's a prosecutor. And if you want to become a lawyer, let me hook you up with my buddy who knows a buddy who can be a lawyer. It's called connections. We don't have it, okay? And it's not something that's suicidal, but it's something that's a disadvantage for us. You have to know that going in, okay? How do you solve it? You come to places like this. I never got to listen to a judge or a senior prosecuting attorney talk about their upbringing, their challenges, and their careers. So you being in this seat is kind of curing that gap that we had to deal with. Nobody told us, hey, I want you to meet Jerry, who is a judge, and he's going to pull you aside and tell you how to become a judge. No one did that for us, okay? But for you guys, the fact that you're here, you're trying to cure that, and you have an advantage for being here. So the only thing I can help you with is to tell you my story and how I got to where I got to, and maybe you can, take something from it and help make decisions when you get to college. So as a young kid, we didn't have much. My parents were immigrants, basically doing small businesses. I was actually helping them out, and I didn't realize how bad my education was in my public school. We certainly didn't have money to send them to like an elite education institute. Okay? So I never got this. So I went through high school, and I realized it wasn't really that hard. At a bad school, you can find ways to get by and get good grades, right? Take a couple math courses that are a little easy for you, take a bunch of PE courses, get A pluses to offset your English score. I figured it out. So then I get into college, and I take out the textbook to start reading and realize I really don't know how to read. And by that, I don't mean I don't know how to read. Like, when I read, I don't know what it means. I really didn't understand reading comprehension. So in college, I realized how bad of an education I got, in the public school system, and I just had to work harder. And so my experience in college was that I wanted to take classes that would pad my grade point average. This is the smart thing to do, right? You just want a high grade point average. The secret to that, do you know what that was? There's a secret. You find classes that you enjoy and that you're good at. That's the secret rule. If you find classes in college that you like the subject and you're good at, that's how you're going to succeed. So in college for me, it was Korean. I spoke Korean my whole life, translated from my parents. So I took upper level Korean courses, learning Chinese diplomacy or Nixon's ping pong diplomacy in Chinese and Korean. I don't know it in English. So I'm learning Korean at upper level. I also enjoyed business because I helped my parents' business, so I took business courses. I got really, kind of well versed in business. And then I also took political science because I liked the law. And, you look at those three things and I'm like, it's easy. I'll go to law school and I'll put them together and become an international business lawyer. Makes sense, right? Because that's what I'm good at. I can speak Korean to the Korean international businesses. I know the law. I know politics. I know how it works. So I go to law school. Under that premise, University of Washington, top 25 offices, we want you. You're going to be someone special, right? So I get there and I take an international business course. The most boring class I've ever taken. I kid you not, I dropped out of the class. And I realized, what am I doing? Why am I here in law school? So I started looking around and I did an internship with the King County Prosecutor's Office. And I realized that's what I want to do. You know why? I've played sports my whole life. And I love the feeling of winning or avoiding losing. And I love the fact that there is a winner and a loser. I love the fact that there's a stage. That's for me. Regardless of whether I'm a prosecutor or a defense lawyer, I want to be in the courtroom. So I found something that I'm really good at. Okay? And I went after it, and that's why I've been a prosecutor for 13 years, been successful by hundreds of jury trials, or 100 jury trials. And then looking back, 10 years into my career, I'm looking back thinking, why did I even mess around doing business, or taking business classes, or taking Korean classes, when I don't use it here as a King County prosecutor? You once in a while get a Korean victim, and you can speak Korean to him, Wimpy, you can get an interpreter for that, right? And business, there's no business in criminal law. What was I doing? Well, folks, it all makes sense, because with the business that I learned, I started a side business that's doing pretty well. It's a little construction business. And it's fun to offset the criminal prosecution side of what I do. The Korean paid off as well, because what happened was the Korean government came to LA and invited every Korean American prosecutor that they could find in the United States. They paid for our airfare, paid for our food, paid for our hotel, flew us down here. You know what they were doing? They were looking for that government officials, law schools, and professors, only because I knew Korean and I had jury trial experience. And the moral of my whole story is, don't do something just to make money. Don't do something just because your parents tell you to do it. Do things that you really enjoy and are good at, and eventually you'll find a way to make money, get famous, or be powerful, or whatever it is that you want to succeed in. So that's my pitch. Thank you very much for coming.
We're just going to open it up to questions at this point. If you have any questions, please just raise your hand up, point out somebody, and we'll go from there. Any questions for?
Well, then we get to ask you guys questions.
Yeah, the Socratic method, right?
I guess I'll start out really quickly. Can you describe the path to law school and even what law school is like? You mentioned the Socratic method. That might not mean much to students.
Okay. For those of you who's interested in law again, this is the Socratic method now. I'm picking on people. No, I won't. But because you sit there, you get too nervous about being picked, and you don't listen. So anyway, at least I will be sitting in class. Don't pick me. Don't pick me. What was the question? But anyways, law school. Okay, for those of you who are interested in law school, of course, for undergraduate degree, everybody asks me, what should I major in? Of course, anything that's helpful as a lawyer, that's the obvious thing. Maybe government, political science, English, we can do some writing, stuff like that. Public speaking, yeah, I can't even public speaking. But that's all important, okay? But you can be any major. You could be a history major, an English major, a math major. I think Mr. Kim's going to say his friend was a fishery major, right? But anything, you can be any major, because they just want to make sure you have the wherewithal to get some of the concepts, okay? Once you're in law school, there's a 3-year, it's usually 3 years, typically 3 years if you go full time. If you go at night, it's 4 years. For those of you who are just overachievers and suicidal, you can take a 2-year course that's really concentrated, but it's very, very difficult. But you can go 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, okay? Once you're in law school, you're going to have, they teach you various concepts, and then it's up to you to decide what area of law you want to go into. The doctors do the same thing, I think. They teach you the concepts and everything, and then later on you branch out into your specialty, eye, ear, nose, whatever it is. But it's a very intense process. But what I said before, I still believe in. As long as you try hard, you're going to get through. It's not something where you're never going to get the concepts if you feel like you're not smart or whatever. As long as you sit down and you try hard and try to learn these concepts, you're going to learn them all. So basically, that's about it. Do you have any questions on that portion?
But it's criminal law or family law, kind of law. The process for going there, is it like a coursework or working in the field?
Okay, that's a good question. What it's going to be is they're going to teach you all the general subjects in law school, and then that's going to prepare you for the bar exam. And then once you take the bar exam, you're going to be able to go out and practice, and then go into whatever field you want to get into and develop more expertise. Of course, in law school, there's electives. If you already know what your focus is, you can steer yourself to those electives and get additional information about whatever field you want to get into. Okay. And something that I know Mr. Kim mentioned in the last session is don't think that even if you go to law school, you have to be a litigator or someone who's in trial, that's going at it. Law has so many avenues. You can be a transactional attorney. You don't have to be that person that's out there, the A-type in court. In fact, some of the most formidable people that I ever went against were people who were quiet. They had the jury's attention, they were honest and folksy, and they were very effective. So it doesn't mean that you have to be an A-type to be a litigator either. Whatever talents you have, you bring to the board, bring to the table. But some of my most successful friends aren't even practicing law. They passed the bar, they're attorneys, but they're now agents or started businesses. So no matter what, if you have a law degree or you're a lawyer, it's going to help you no matter what you do. Okay.
Mr. Kim, would you mind sharing with us how you decided to actually get into law school and what that thought process was for you?
Well, when I disappointed my parents and didn't get into med school, studying law would be a natural next step. No, for me, it's not something that I thought frankly speaking, I had no idea what I was going to be when I went to college. And if you do, wow, you're way ahead of me. You know? And so I would actually urge you not to be so narrow-minded. I know some of you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, and that's your goal, and that's great. But you should also look at some other avenues. Okay? The reason I say that is because I have a lot of quote-unquote successful friends that your parents would agree is successful. And by that I mean periodontists and endodontists. You guys know they're specialty dentists. And these guys are making like almost $1 million a year. And you would think, oh my gosh, I'm going into that field. They're good friends of mine. They're making $1 million a year, people. Yeah, her jaw just dropped. No, and it's true. And they're making a lot of money. And I gotta tell you, they're extremely unhappy. I know you're thinking, how can you be unhappy when you make $1 million a year? Sounds like you're mad. No, it's true. They're not happy. You know why? Because all they do all day for 12 hours a day is do root canals. All day. I was trying to do root canals all day long. And because he bought such a big house, he's got to keep working. He's got to make his mortgage payments that are like $20,000 a month, which is $250,000 a year. You got to pay that house off for 30 years, okay? So don't equivalent money into success. I mean, yeah, it can bring some happiness, it can relieve some unhappiness, but it's not all about money. There's a bunch of people that are really dumb and have an IQ below room temperature and make a lot of money. I promise you, I have some friends that really they should not be making that much money, but it's not about money. The key is, it's about what you want to do, because if whatever you choose, you could be doing it for 30 to 40 years. So, I'm telling you this about my friends because they wish if they had it back, they'd go back to undergrad and pick something that they really enjoy doing, because they didn't realize they'd be doing this for 30 or 40 years. Making a lot of money, but they're miserable. So, my advice would be, when you're in undergrad, try out some other classes. You know, try out engineering if you're a science guy. If you know you're a science person, try engineering, electrical engineering, whatever, and then go to med school. Just so you know in your mind and your heart. I looked around, medicine was the field for me. Or for you lawyers that want to go into law. Look at engineering, look at medical school, look at some other topics, and make sure you rule out things that you don't like. That's the only advice that I can give you. For me, that's how I got to law school. You know, I started, there's no way I'm going to medical school. I don't want to be a dentist. I can't be an engineer because I'm not really that good at math. Well, I like these three subjects. The only next natural step was law school. And I didn't decide to go to law school until I was a junior in college. I didn't decide when I was in high school like you guys. So that's kind of how I got into law school.
And to quote a famous Greek philosopher, more money, more problems, right? So, any other questions? Yes, right here.
It's for Judge. My son doesn't know what he wants to be yet. He's still young. I want, he's only 15, yeah. But I want to introduce him to law, because I think, I'm a mother, I think he's going to be good at it. But he doesn't know for sure. How do I introduce him to, I mean, I'm making, like, watch
You should have brought him here today.
Medlock. Well, he's going to come, but I'm not being a helicopter mom, so we're doing a separate thing. But, helicopter mom. Yeah, I don't hover around
Hovering
him.
over.
Yeah. Anyways, but I'm making watch LA Law, Medlock. I'm sure it's not like that. I went to the courtroom myself, and it was very intimidating.
Which court?
I went to just Newhall Municipal Court, and it was very intimidating.
Criminal or?
It was traffic court, I think. How can because I want to have him experience it. Is there any, like, volunteering work that he can do? That can force us to?
Sorry, let me just repeat the question really quick so
Okay.
people in the back might not hear. I think the question was generally, how can I inspire my son to be interested in law?
Like volunteering in a courtroom.
What kind of
or
opportunities
get
are
a
available?
hands-on
Yes.
training.
You know, that's a great question. Just this year, about 3 people came to me with the same question. They have kids in high school, and they're going, how can I get my kid to get into law? And I'm sure that where you're coming from is you probably see qualities in him that would make a good lawyer, right? So he's
Yes.
outspoken, argumentative.
Oh, yes.
So you probably think, wow, he'd probably make a attorney, right? And you wanna see if you can channel him into that narrative. Well, two things. One is, it's funny, I gotta recall the story. I went to a retirement party for a lawyer that retired. And he said he did the same thing for his son, so he invited him over to the court to watch his dad in action. And ever since then, he never wanted to be an attorney. But I don't know what transpired in that incident, but I like to talk to kids, you know, and I think that the best way to inspire someone to become a lawyer or something is if they have a sense of purpose. You know, if they think that what they're doing is something that's rewarding, and as Mr. Kim said, something that they like to do, and they think it has purpose, you know, they can change things. I think that'll inspire him to actually pursue that path, you know, more than just seeing. You should talk to people and really know what the law's all about. Because for me, it had a deeper meaning, as I indicated, you know, it's something special that I thought was a tool to help people. But I think if you expose him to the right, you know, I don't know what happened in traffic court, but it could be a little, you know.
Oh, thank goodness I didn't take him.
Yeah, but, you know, you don't want to turn him off, but let him come into his own, you know, and I think that if he learns more about the law, talks more to attorneys and judges and sees this, I think he'll grow and have an
This
appreciation
is a
for it.
connection that he was talking
Yeah,
about.
and I think that's, it's,
Do you guys have something called job shadowing that we can do?
you know, I was just looking into that, you know, just because so many people came to me this year and asked about high school kids, and we usually focus on law students or college
Right.
age, and so kind of in the process of looking into that right now.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Okay.
anything?
I would go to Superior Court.
Just
No,
go to the top.
I'm being dead serious. I would go to Superior Court.
Uh-huh.
It's open courtrooms. In fact, it's illegal, the judge will tell you, it's illegal to not allow people or the public to sit in during a trial. One of the rights of a criminal defendant is to have a public trial, so that people can watch. Take them to a homicide case, take them to a robbery case, just take them to one of these cases and watch the lawyers perform, see if you like it.
Okay.
But that's only a small portion of law, that's just criminal
Right.
law.
And that's trial lawyers too, like I mentioned, it's not just being a trial lawyer, okay? Lawyers can do almost anything, you know, they can do transactions, you know, and things like that.
But if he likes that argument or
Right, if he
whatever,
likes that,
then
that'd be
you got
great.
it, that's
And
your
you know,
path.
once he gets a taste of it, maybe if he's in high school and he tries some, you know, mock trials and he gets a taste of that, like Steve did, he's gonna say, this is for me,
Yeah, okay.
you know, and that,
Okay.
if you have to.
Thank you.
And I have to say, that you are an exceptional mother. You know why? Most mothers ask me, how do I make sure my kid doesn't go into law?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I work for the attorneys, I know.
Actually, I've been asked, how do I keep my kid from going to law school? Like, how do I talk about it more than, how do I get them into law school? So,
I want to be a good lawyer.
Support.
That's fair enough. And question in the very back there? As a lawyer, what are your hours like?
I'll think of it. It's a wide spectrum. You know, there's horror stories about the lawyer that works 80 hours a week. You know, there are lawyers that work 80 hours a week, and it's because they're making a lot of money or they're working a lot of hours. Those are good private firm lawyers. The spectrum is huge. There's lawyers that work 20 hours a week and play golf all the time. Do so well. So the average lawyer works about as much as everyone else. It's about a 40-hour-a-week job. It's what you put into it. If you're a trial lawyer, it's not really the work in the trial, it's the preparation after that. So back when you're in trial, like for me, when I'm in trial, I'm working 8 hours a day in the office. I'm also working 2 or 3 hours at home preparing what I'm going to argue to the jurors in closing arguments, what I'm going to say in opening statements. I'm going to cross-examine witnesses and correct points. So it's more work when you're in trial as a trial lawyer, but for private lawyers, it's usually like per hour. And for the top 5 firms, it's really about every 6 minutes, what have you done for me? You have to log in what you did every 6 minutes. So it's a wide spectrum.